Hi, I'm David Fleming from the Disciples Ignited YouTube channel, where we're focused on Jesus, advancing his kingdom, and preparing his disciples. Now, in the last two videos, we've talked about how Paul has come back from his first missionary journey, and he is rejoicing with the church in Antioch that is his base. And he is rejoicing with them of all the doors that God opened to the Gentiles and how they have received Jesus by faith and they have become followers of the Lord. So they're rejoicing. But soon after that, there was a group of people that have come from Jerusalem and started teaching really a doctrine of demons. And they were telling them this. Listen to this. Acts chapter 15, verses 1 and 2. Certain people came down from Judea to Antioch and were teaching the believers, unless you are circumcised according to the custom taught by Moses, you can't be saved. Well, Paul wasn't going to have this. He realized that they were trying to teach the Gentiles that the salvation by faith was really wrong. It had to be a salvation by works. You've got to be circumcised. And so Paul was going to address this. And so he went with Barnabas to Jerusalem to talk to the apostles about this. And he found that, as we talked about it in yesterday's video, it is much worse than he ever imagined. They were not only teaching that that Gentiles had to be circumcised, but they also were expected to keep the law. So there it was. Salvation was not, in their eyes, in their mind, was not by faith in Jesus. It was by keeping the law. It was a salvation by works. Paul addressed this, and he would not let up. He said, listen, the salvation that I had been preaching on my first missionary journey was a salvation by faith in Jesus and faith alone, and God has saved them. They are devout followers of Jesus. They have not been circumcised. They are not necessarily keeping the law to earn merit with God. Yes, the law is good. Yes, circumcision is fine if you're Jewish, but that doesn't earn you salvation. And Paul wouldn't let up. Finally, Peter did stand up and he said, listen, God used me to preach this gospel to the Gentiles. And he said in Acts chapter 15, verse 9 and verse 11, he did not discriminate between us and them, for he purified their hearts by faith. We believe it is through the grace of our Lord Jesus that we are saved, just as they are. So Peter did understand what Paul was talking about. He understood that keeping the law isn't going to save you. Being circumcised isn't going to save you. So why would we want to put this burden on the Gentiles? It is by faith and faith alone. Well, the leadership, you have to realize that really basically the whole church in Jerusalem is Jewish. So their whole mindset is that you have got to keep the law. You have got to be a good Jew in order to be a follower of Jesus. And Paul's argument is this: the law is good. It is holy. It is pure. And circumcision is good. If you're Jewish, that identifies you as having a covenant with God. But being circumcised and keeping the law, it's not going to earn you merit with God. It's not going to save you. Salvation is by faith and faith alone. Well, the leadership in Jerusalem did discuss matters, and they came out with some rules that they wanted the Gentile believers to follow. They said, we want you to abstain from food sacrificed to idols. Paul said, that's fine. We want you to abstain from eating bloody meat. Paul said, that's not a problem. We want you to abstain from meat of strangled animals. Paul said, that's not a problem. And then we want you to abstain from sexual immorality. Paul said, fine. Because all those things were just dietary, and then a sexual immorality, living a good sexually pure life, was great. So Paul said, absolutely, that's fine. And these requirements were really not to earn salvation, but they were given by the council to bring peace and unity between the Jews and the Gentiles. It was no longer looked upon as a matter of salvation. It was a matter of unity. But there's more to be addressed. Let's talk about it tomorrow.